Hi, this is Carrie Brownstein.
This is DJ Premier.
This is Darren Aronofsky.
You got the RZA right here.
Rose McGowan.
Radiohead.
Aisha Tyler.
Tribe Called Quest. Fred Armisen.
Fritz Paul.
Javier Munoz. Seth Meyers.
Frankie Cosmos.
Flying Lotus.
Hi, we're Chaim, and you're listening to the Talkhouse Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Talkhouse Podcast. I'm Josh Modell. On this week's episode, we've got a deep, enlightening conversation between two talented wordsmiths who also happen to be admirers of each other's work. It's Mick Jenkins and Monet. Now, Mick Jenkins first found some notice a little over a decade ago with a mixtape called The Waters, a sophisticated, politically minded group of songs that sounded wiser than his years and got him tons of attention from his home base of Chicago and beyond. Early collaborators include Chance the Rapper and Vic Mensa, which should tell you a little bit about what to expect from Jenkins' sound, but definitely not the whole story. He's since released a bunch of records that take plenty of left turns, including last year's jazzy A Murder of Crows. Check out Workers' Comp from that album right here.
We got more work to do. We got more work to do. Niggas be entitled. Where do that shit come from? Whole time you ain't done nothing. Everybody said they running shit. All I see a bunch of bum rushing. Thumbs work, but your tongue tied, shoes untied. Niggas tripping, ain't it? Got them wildin' for attention, ain't it? Hey, fuck you mean you deserve? Cap. What you mean you need a meal ticket? Cap. We only serve just desserts. I mean, we prefer different feathers if we finna group it like a flock of birds. I mean, niggas don't wanna learn front toe the only time I seen them turn to leave. Give me something I can earn at least. Fuck you mean you deserve?
Speaking of jazzy, the other half of today's conversation is Monet, who's taken her poetry from the page and straight readings to a place bursting with music and rhythm on a pair of albums, including a brand new one called The Color of Rain. Jenkins and their mutual friend Vic Mensa join on one song, Melting Clocks, but it's mostly Monet's show throughout, with her poetry set over zigzagging instruments and tempos. It never feels forced, but rather a natural extension of what she's all about. Complex, lyrical, and sometimes intense. Check out a little bit of Melting Clocks right here.
Every now and when, in the yesteryear yawn, ancient embryos eternally swing the fishing pole of memory, capturing today baited by breaths of tomorrow. Twice in a blue blood moon, we dream of doubtless rhythms to collage our moments shedding self, quantum futures, past, present, always beyond.
Psychedelic sayings.
Grounded in storytelling tradition, tardy, we measure the space by the changes.
This conversation starts a little slowly. Jenkins is just waking up and has been having a rough few months. But these two draw inspiration and life from chatting with each other. They cover Jenkins' early years when he wasn't sure if his religion would allow him to pursue secular music, and they get deep into how to deal with the crazy world we're living in at the moment, specifically how to manage anger. It's a deep conversation with a lot of wisdom coming from both directions. Enjoy.
I'll start by saying that when they asked me about doing this and they asked about different people to talk with, I had, talked about doing it possibly with Michelle and then with you. And I was really kind of moved by our conversation the last time we were together. Mm-hmm. But I also feel like it's just always good to talk to you, and now I have an excuse to. So how are you feeling today?
I'm tired. I'm working on like 3 projects at one time. So studio every day. My wife is dealing with grief, so helping her through that is tough. For like the last 3 months, it's like work, relationship, and I just kind of clock in for both. Not in a robotic way, but very much in a work the ways I want it to be, the ways it should be, things I shouldn't have to worry about, and things I'm taking responsibility for that really are my responsibility. It's like you can complain or you can do it. You know what I'm saying? Grief is unfair to all of us. You know what I'm saying? I woke up from a nap that I took.
Yeah, I was trying to take a nap before this, and then I just couldn't sleep. I'm sure you're noticing that, as you were saying, supporting your partner and your wife through grief. Like, there's just so much they don't tell you about as women. Like, there's just so much you don't learn about your experience of the world until you're in it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think there's just an overload of information that we're constantly being given. And so there's certain things that I'm like, this is the world that we're in and the society and country we're living in. And then there's other things where I'm like, this feels like different, you know? And then I talk to other women and they're like, yeah, that happens. And I'm like, oh.
Are you referencing things that are specific to women?
Yes.
Okay.
Like, okay, well, not specific to women. Like, you guys have chin hair. That's something that y'all get. But we weren't really told that that's something we would potentially get at a certain age.
Okay, understood. I have a better context for the types of things you might be talking about.
You know what I'm saying? But I think what's great is I'm in a loving relationship with someone who doesn't make me feel like the things I'm experiencing with my body changing is like abnormal. You know, it's like there are things we learn about ourselves through society, through culture that's kind of propagated. And then there's the reality of us being in a real relationship with one another. But it's weird to see how that manifests in different ways. And also how little research, how little investment there has been into be curious about women's bodies and being able to like learn how things impact us. So like, you know, when you take an Advil, it'll say take two, adults take two, children, but they never say like adult woman or adult man. They just say adults, which for the non-binary sake of it, that's cool. But when it boils down to a lot of the tests that they do for some of these over-the-counter drugs, and for most drugs, are measured against men's bodies. So for a lot of years, we're taking things as women that like technically doesn't hit us the same or doesn't impact us the same. And so I can't tell if my brain fog is because I'm like getting older as a woman and I'm going through possibly perimenopause, or if it's like long COVID, or if it's just social media, or if it's...
I feel like what we're through right now is like on top of that, we just came from
I'll say it.
A canceled doctor's appointment this morning that we had no idea was canceled for Kendra. You know, so we drive 40 minutes out the way to a specialist after our third appointment so that we can understand what's going on. And she gets there and the lady's like, oh, I'm sorry, I can see here that your appointment is for today. You're here. So it's obviously you didn't realize it was canceled, but it's been canceled for some reason. It's like, for some reason, we've been waiting 3 weeks for this. What do you mean for some reason? You know what I'm saying? Long story short, we got out of there with no real reason as to why it was canceled, and it was rescheduled for Friday. But we have to run all over the city for 3 months and make sure that our insurance that scam is within our network, and when you in our network, but you're not available on this day. And it's just like, dog, like even on top of what you're talking about, then there's the next hurdle of like finding someone who's available to help me through it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh man, it's so deep that you brought that up, because the healthcare industry is triggering for me. I've seen it happen with my mother, growing up with my mother in and out of hospitals from the time I was a kid. So I think there's something there that's unresolved that I have to like work through. But I've been trying to be like, I'm going to get insurance. Let me find the right insurance company. And then every time I try to sit down to like legitimately figure out insurance, it's just so overwhelming. It shouldn't be this hard to want to take care of yourself in this country. And I think that getting older, a lot of these things become more sobering because, as I'm saying, your body's going through changes that are undeniable. I was laughing one time when I was out with some friends and we were just, you know, talking. And after a while, I'm talking and I'm like, okay, I got to switch from one leg to the next leg because, you know, my hips start hurting it up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, y'all want to go sit down now? Because this standing up thing.
We've made self-care be like a glamorous thing or like a
industry.
A real treat. I literally just came from cupping yesterday. I've been doing a lot more things like that are targeted at my stress. Whereas I think 3 or 4 years ago, self-care was indulgent, right? Instead of like recovery, actually, you know, for my mind and my body. And I think, like you said, just getting older, feeling these things, having those new realities, like, damn, this never felt like this before. I know the phenomenon with men is, I think with anybody, but definitely I hear this among men a lot. It's like you ain't done something in a long time and you think you're going to come back and do it at the same level that you left it. Basketball or tennis or, you know, sports I play, I think just, you know, in the last 5 years, you know, those things become more of a reality. It's like, all right, well, let me actually take care of myself then. You know, I've been vegetarian most of my life, so that's afforded me a pretty good body, but age is like, you know, maybe you should stretch.
It's funny that you said that because, you know, there's that Audre Lorde quote that I think was taken out of context, you know, as the internet girlies started to make it, you know, a whole market around it. But there's this quote where she says, caring for myself is not self-indulgence. It is self-preservation. And that is an act of political warfare. And I've been also kind of, while going through my own self-maintenance and care and intention of like spiritual upkeep, watching and witnessing and trying to support other close friends who are going through different battles with health, like whether that be mental health, addictions, etc. And I'm like, you have to be militant about taking care of yourself, especially in this time, because what we are up against, and what we're constantly navigating in this society is a society that is not rooted in love, a foundation of love or care.
Yeah.
There's this thing I'm doing for a poem that I did that's going to supposedly air for BET soon. And it's a campaign they're doing around mental health. And one of the things I wanted to convey was like the first line is every self is a collective. Care either is or it ain't. And a big part of that for me was people talk about self-care as if it's in opposition to collective care, as if there's like this binary. Whereas I'm like, it's not an either, there's no such thing. Care is all inclusive.
All inclusive.
So when people say self-care, I even feel weird by that because I'm like, it should just be care. The fact that you have to say self-care implies that there's this opposition to community, you know what I mean? Where it's like, no, I need care, and I'm prioritizing care, and taking care of me is equitable, is more sustainable for the collective. Vice versa, if for the collective to be well, we have to take care of each other individually. And it's so weird that feels like still in this country, it's a taboo, that we're still arguing universal health care, that's still a negotiation. I was going to ask, because you've traveled a lot, and we came out with this song called Working Class Musicians. And it's different just being a touring poet. When you're touring with a band, which is something you and I have talked about, and you're a band leader, you're taking care of not just yourself, but also a collective. And usually that collective takes priority because you're responsible for them. You're the person that is taking them out on this journey. And traveling to me is one of the few ways that has expanded my worldview. And it's what made me, I think, a bit more militant, was coming back home with this conviction and really shame and embarrassment around wow, these things that in America you're made to feel are so out of reach and so out of touch. And then you travel elsewhere and you're like, this is not impossible.
I went to Croatia for a festival. Again, to my point, way too old to be skateboarding down a hill with curves in it. I was doing it. And I hate it because I cleared the whole hill going way too fast. Right at the bottom, I clipped the curb. I was flying. For 4 seconds. Landed right on my shoulder. Felt crazy, bruised up crazy. And I don't really bruise easily. It was purple and went to the hospital. Hated going to the hospital because I thought, now I got to go to the hospital in a different country. So the first thing I feel when I walk in there is it's dirty. It's dirty in here. In hindsight, it wasn't dirty. It just wasn't as spick and span
sterile
as an American hospital. It's not dirty. The floors aren't icy white like at home. It's not, X-ray. Consulted with the doctor, brought in a translator because I couldn't understand everything he was saying. They ran a bunch of different tests. I was all right. Bones wasn't broken. For the whole visit, it was $35 American. And I walked out of there confused. I was like, how am I getting quicker, better, cheaper, more thorough? I've been at home for little stuff. And it's just almost whatever you ask for, they'll give you that and not suggest anything. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I hurt my arm. Can you lift your arm? Yeah. Oh, it's definitely not broken. You want to run any tests? Why are you asking me? I don't know. I think that Croatia experience is wow. Like you just said, it's it could be this easy. So it doesn't make sense to walk into a hospital, get an X-ray, and now I'm owe them $2,000. Oh, it doesn't have to be that way. Okay. I think that was my first time realizing that around 2016 or 17. And I think the same way like you. I think you learn a certain truth, you realize the gravity of what that truth means, and you become more militant and angry.
I hate when people be like, oh, you're an activist because you care, because you're outraged by something, when in actuality, you're just a sentient being.
Appropriate outrage.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah, who cares deeply and who wants care to be a universal good, wants care to be a radical expression of our love for one another, which is a beloved community. It's funny because when I was in Ghana, the same happened. And that's when I was like, oh, they really got us twisted, because the stories you would hear and the amount of poverty porn that they try to sell the West about Africa. The continent.
Yeah, and total.
and people within the continent, doesn't mean that there isn't struggle, doesn't mean that there aren't things that they're grappling for, rightfully so, because of the resources we exploit and take and the political leadership that we have had a hand in. But it was very heartening to be in Ghana and go through an experience where I found this lump in my breast, and I had to go. It was terrifying to be away from home, feeling like something's wrong. And the anxiety you feel, the fear you feel about whether or not you have insurance or not, and what could happen. And a friend of a friend called the person, and I was in this real local doctor's hospital, sitting with the Ghanaians, just looking to my left and right, okay, we gonna see how this gonna go down, looking like literally a sore thumb, you know what I mean? Do not belong, girl. You tatted up with blue hair. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And they treated me so well. They took me in, and they're same thing. I was looking at their machines and their space, and I was like, okay, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
You could have a piece of thread and some scissors and a bottle of water.
And it was going to make it look better than,
And you will make it work and show more love.
Mm-hmm.
And I have felt more love and care with people that have had the bare minimum than I have with people who have the biggest, most advanced technology and devices. To have been in that space with these people that had X-ray machines from probably when Kwame Nkrumah was in office. I was like, you know what? We gonna have these revolutionary X-ray machines, okay? Here we are. And they put the little slide of the little X-ray in a little sheet of paper and looking at me. I was like,
I forgot about that.
I was sat fully. Yes, doctor, tell me what is the issue?
Indeed.
And what was so funny? He was calmed my nerves, etc. He was like, I think it's a cyst. I think it's, and I was like, okay, how do I deal with this? He's like, it doesn't look cancerous, yada, yada, yada. And then helped with all these recommendations and stuff. I got back to the US, took that X-ray, so scared. And I called a friend who was a doctor, and then come to LA. The length of time it took me, to get an appointment.
Just to get the appointment.
Then to get the appointment and then tell me that I need to go see a specialist and get a mammogram, which the doctor in Ghana told me not to do. And partially because it's been found now that I know, I didn't know this then, but that women, that every time you do that, the amount of radiation that you go through is horrible for the body and sometimes can onset or cause cancerous cells. So it's I'm not a doctor. I don't know. But even when you want to feel reprieve and you want to feel okay, I'm in an issue and I need support, and you really want to bet on that somebody really cares, you always have to have in the back of your mind here that is this really the solution? But when you say you're tired, bro, this country, I be tired.
What do you think about this? Maybe this is better off camera. I don't want to
go ahead,
be a negative Nancy, but these motherfuckers are doing whatever they want.
I know. Are they though?
To laugh. I have to. Yeah, you know what? I was talking about it with somebody last night. I was like, are they though? Great question. Yeah. And whatever doesn't stick, doesn't stick. And they'll just throw some more at the wall. Create the whole environment for the wall to be as sticky as possible.
Yeah.
And then throw bullshit at it. And whatever falls is whatever. We got more.
Evil takes no days off.
What do we do? But actually, not what can we do? But what do you do?
I don't think I can claim any idea of answers, I don't know that, but I'm saying that to say I don't necessarily know that is the question to ask right now. I think many of us feel frustrated by a condition that we are living in, and the question then becomes, or not even the question, the response or the instigation becomes reaction rather than strategy and intention and cultivation.
Do you let that go on? You just let it be reaction?
From what I've observed of nature, there are seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And we find ourselves in this particular season. It will not always be the season. and there are always other powers at play. I come from people that understand spiritual warfare and recognize that we do not fight in just flesh and blood. And so when you're being conditioned and brought up in a society that is so hyper fixated on immortality, in so much as there is an obsession with how to suck away the life force of others in order to try to live as long as possible, how do you let go of the idea that their desire to live forever is ours? It doesn't make right what's happening. We resist not because we're reactionary. We resist because we have I would say I've been saying to Georgia, the insurgent sort of consciousness that recognizes a lie for a lie and a truth for a truth. And what we physically see in this world, the sensory material conditions that they have tried to like use to guide and to oppress people are not the only conditions that we live by.
Yeah.
And so I think in that moment is I don't know necessarily what to do. I do know that there are things being done, whether we see them or not.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to be steadfast and super disciplined in our spiritual, physical, mental resolve about our values. And in doing that, the answers will come. That might mean needing to be Nat Turner at a moment. That might mean needing to be Mother Teresa at another moment. I don't know what the spirit will call for in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if we are listening for the call, then the call will come. These entities that are inflicting suffering and despair and harm and deprivation over, humanity will not have the final word.
I think I'm really speaking more to the in-between where it's just like, all right, you know that, right? Everything you just said, you know that. Don't you still find yourself in spaces of time where you are just angry, or do you not?
Oh, this is such a good question, Mick, because yesterday, I was sitting at Georgia's house with her mother and I had this moment where I was breaking down in tears because I said, do you ever find yourself in this situation where you feel like you have a righteous rage, you have a indignation, you have a reason to stand up, you are standing in your strength, in your power, in your courage. And there's this movie Opus that I was referencing with John Malkovich. I would love for you to see it. I want to talk to you about it one day. But in the movie, there's this scene where they have this like marionette puppet thing happening, and Billie Holiday has these hands wiggling her while she's performing and wailing her heart out. And part of it was because I took a gummy before, but the other part of it was because it was like deeply meta, like the levels of watching it at this time and what's happening in the world, and just seeing fingers over Billie was just, or the way that got memorized or stamped in my consciousness. I was like, wait, so even our expression that we think is coming from a very like genuine, liberating space, right? Which it is. I think it's the practice. Freedom is an embodiment. It's not just a destination. That's one of the things I had to learn. But when you recognize that like the expression is somehow still feeling orchestrated or controlled or manipulated, what then? Then how do you resolve that as an artist, as a Black person, as a human being in the world, where you're like, how am I being used that I don't always even know I'm being used? And are your thoughts your thoughts? Are your feelings your feelings? Are your actions your actions?
I know better than to consciously allow myself to lean into that anger, especially because of the depth of what we're talking about. The source of it is endless. But I do have conversations with my wife and some of my friends where they're trying to advise me out of the space I'm in, which is valid. But I'll have pushback like, well, I just kind of want to be angry right now. I have the perspective, but I am angry, and I'm gonna hold this for a little while. Thank you. I think specifically you, other people, but that's where I went there. It's just like sometimes I wonder, how does Aja deal with that?
Yesterday I broke down because I was in this place of like, how is my anger being used? All emotions is information, like an antenna that lets me know like how the energy of what is being experienced is transmitting and how that is coming through. And so for me, Like if I'm getting angry, that clearly that's a
Signal.
symbolic of something. There's something there for me to pay attention to. It's a clarifying force. It's a force that helps bring clarity to my values and to what I care about and how deeply I care. So I don't judge the anger, but I recognize that it's there, and it makes me angry that I'm angry because I don't want to be angry. This is what brought tears, because I was like, man, some people, their relationship to me may be that they met me in a state of anger, but they don't even know, they don't have a relationship to the cause of that anger, or they don't feel any implication or risk in not expressing it. Right. And so I'm supposed to just be okay and daintily and quaint with the fact that the world is the way that it is, when in fact it's not okay, and things make me angry. I think the difference is to not let the anger be the driving force by which you move through the world. But I used to not be that way. I think a lot of my life was like, anger is a powerful source, and then you take those, like I said, you take them quotes, these incredible poets. You have Audre Lorde, and she's like, uses of anger, and I'm not free until any other, any woman who's, until any woman is free. And even if her shackles are very different from mine. And so you have this righteous kind of rage that you kind of feel good about. I'm mad because it's right to be mad about this thing, but you're more concerned about being right than you are about solving the cause of the anger. And to me, that's a triggery spot, because you can fall in love with your anger. You can go to bed with your anger, wake up and be in a whole new relationship and live a whole life with anger and never know that there are other fish in the sea,
Do you have anything on your album that you just released that speaks to that? Is there one joint that you're like, I kind of covered that a little bit on this one?
I think for the Congo is a piece that reflects my anger, But here's the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would say that even my love poems, this is where it gets really heady and metaphorical, but I would say even the love poems are an expression of, like, everything is an expression of love.
Mm-hmm.
And the anger comes from this inability to express love.
Yeah.
Or to feel love. And so I think, like, whenever love is lacking or does not feel present, anger comes.
which in the tapestry of it all is the truth, right? I think somebody just asked me about why we were talking about my career and would I have done the Waters Part 2 if I could go back instead of Waves? Would I have done the Healing component if I... And I was like, well, I think I would have did Waters Part 2 for sure, but the Healing component was always going to be the album, and I'll bring it back to where we're at. But I just asked myself, like, man, my first album, what should my first album be about? And my thought process was each true Hollywood story. I was just like, whenever they talk about rappers, the late great rappers on their each true Hollywood story, they always go back to their first album, the first thing you said to the world. But they always go to your first album when they talk about the music that you put out. You know what I'm saying? No matter what Jay-Z does, people are always going to bring a Reasonable Doubt. You know what I'm saying? No matter what Kanye does, people are always going to talk about College Dropout. No matter what. You know what I'm saying? It's like your first album and that first offering to the world, your first piece, painters and their first periods of painting and what they were doing compared to what they're doing later. People always bring up where you started. And for me, it was like, man, I have something to say, and nothing is more important for me to mark my first attempt at a body of work than love. If love is not involved, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
At the atom of what life is about, reduced all the way, you know what I'm saying? What I believe, it should be full of love. Like you said, the anger is because I love and I see something lacking.
If you see the rage, then you must then the other side of that.
Yeah, because the other side is, man, I love us. I love this. I love nature. I love whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? And the anger comes from the love, truly, right?
There's nothing like seeing a mother animal protect their cub, or or fishies protect or whatever creature. Like, when you see that sort of love, like, the maternal instinct is something, and the paternal instinct is there equally. I think the parental, like, feeling of, like, this selfless love that is all encompassing that then kind of absorbs you and swallows you whole into this creature that only knows how to nurture and take care of. And anything that threatens that is something that is going to bring out teeth, you know? And it's funny because when you talked about the first album, this album, The Color of Rain, I think there's a little bit more leaning into metaphor and surrealism. And it's maybe not as literal, even though I think that there are expressions for sure of that anger and that love that comes from that anger. But I just remembered when you were talking about the first album, in my first album, When the Poems Do What They Do, there's a song for Jemaja. Mm-hmm. And in the song, I'm like, I went to see someone about my pain. And he told me I had to meet the warrior at the edge of the sea. And he's like, do not carry anger that is not yours, says El Brujo. And the whole poem is about this spiritual ceremony that I had to do to resolve with some of that anger, to come to terms and peace and to cleanse and to release and to know that some of that anger was not mine, That's the other thing. It's like, that's why I say go back to, are your thoughts your thoughts? Are your cares your cares? Are your feelings your feelings? And the only way you start to learn that is through this beautiful voice. And so I guess one of the questions I want to ask you, I really admire you as a lyricist and as someone that I consider an emergent poet, a poet that is, I think all great lyricists, all great MCs are poets. I would say all great artists are poets. Mm-hmm. But how do you contend with your craft, with your art form in these times, because there's this moment where I love just sitting with the poem in the intimate, you see all these books, right? Like this is my medicine cabinet and I could spend months in this room by myself, completely enthralled and never leave to see the world. But that wouldn't be sincere because I also love people and I love the poetry that I find in talking to you and sharing time with you. But I always find this struggle between what you do to create for your sanity and your own relationship that you would have been doing whether anybody looked or not, because I would have been writing poems whether anybody cared or not. And then the balance of sharing it in the world and becoming more visible and known for that. Do you feel that there's still a sacredness and a preciousness that you keep and you try to protect? And how do you protect that so that it doesn't become, the world's thing?
I've talked about this before with people, and what I find is the people that I've talked to struggle with my answer. I'm going to tell you the answer and then I'm going to explain. But the answer to your question is, I decided. This is going to be this, nothing else. And I would say it's mine. I decided it's mine, period.
I love that.
I was raised Christian, specifically Seventh-day Adventist, and secular music is a no-no. So when I started rapping, I come from a Seventh-day Adventist community. I went to Seventh-day Adventist school. We've had a lot of people who are successful come from that culture. I think Ali from Tribe Called Quest was Seventh-day Adventist. Little Richard grew up Seventh-day Adventist. Keisha Cole went to my Seventh-day Adventist school for a semester. It's a rapper named Phila Day from Philadelphia. He was Seventh-day. Brian McKnight grew up Seventh-day Adventist, went to school with my dad. Like, it's like we clock it. You know what I'm saying? So I started rapping, started doing well. So people from my community start recognizing me. So I'll go to church and people are like, yo, can I holler at you about what you do? And they're like condemning me to my face. Don't know me at all. You know what I'm saying? May know my mom, may know my aunts, but that's how it is in the church community. I don't necessarily have to know you personally. If I know your family that's been going here for 20 years, I can come talk. You know what I'm saying? So unsolicited like advice and reprimands and condemnation when I'm, 2012, 13, 14, when I'm still around these same circles that I grew up in. First start touring, and I was like, look, man, this is what I'm doing. This is what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing. But by the way I grew up, I ain't supposed to be doing things on Saturdays. That's the Sabbath. So I go through this period of like really, really, really like at it with the Lord, just talking to him, pleading with him, and just like, look, if this is not what I'm supposed to do, then take it away. I feel like I'm a pretty talented person. I'm a very artistic person. I don't have to rap. I can write. I can paint. I can do a lot of other things. I don't have to rap. I didn't believe that I had to rap. I was just like, so if this ain't what you want me to do, then take it away. Just take it away before it gets anywhere. I probably prayed that for like 4 or 5 months fervently before I was like, all right, I'm not seeing you take it away. Not only am I not seeing you taking it away, I'm seeing you open more doors for me to continue this life. So I'm not going to worry about this anymore. I'm going to make sure that what I do, and here's my explanation to your answer, is tell my story, my experiences in the hopes that they might help somebody else. Period. That's my goal here. And if I do that because I believe in you, because you're intertwined in my life, because I'm focused on bettering myself, because I actually want to be a better man, because I do evaluate myself and say, okay, for these next 6 months, let's focus on like not being so quick to anger. Okay, for these next 6 months, let's focus on acknowledging people when they say something to you and not trying to argue the opposite of, you know what I'm saying? Hey, for this next 6 months, let's holler at your friends and see where you drop the ball in your friendship relationships and how you could be better to your friends. And it's just like, because I am trying to be the best man I actually can be, it will show up in my music. I don't have to worry about trying to tell you something and architecting this, being an architect for this, for the waters. And the waters came to me. I wasn't drinking water either. When I said drink more water, it's because I needed to drink more water also. when we all started, I was right with y'all. I before that I wasn't. And when I said that, I was like, I said this, I guess I should start doing it too. Cut out soda for like 4 years just because that's the space I was on. The healing component, I was actually going through figuring out love in my own relationship with my now wife. Now, that's all people ever get from me is what I'm actually going through. Because in my own attempts, just like you could hear on the healing component, just like you could hear on the waters, I am trying to understand. I'm going to tell you what I do understand. I'm going to tell you what I don't understand. I'm going to tell you where my conflict with my understanding happened and what happened afterwards. I'm going to put that all in the music. I have reminded myself over and over again, like, yeah, you don't really need to worry about that. You're honestly doing this thing. It will continue to show up and touch the people that it's supposed to show up and touch the people for. Like, all right, talk to God. Have this conversation and remind yourself, like, you chose this. Not only did you chose it, you asked him, is this what you should be doing? When he opened up doors for you, remember why you do this. And take solace in the fact that those hard parts and those parts that plague you and the parts that make it difficult, they come with it.
I receive what you're saying so intuitively. Like it feels like a word that I needed. Thank you for ministering to me, Minister Mick.
But to the point, it's just like what I found is, to the specificity of the question that you asked, what I found is, well, sometimes there's too many strings being tugged at one time. 2 years ago, Gaza's getting the start of Obliterated. And I know I can't say anything because I know the man who owns my label. I know what he'll do. I know exactly how he feels. And now I'm ashamed because I don't feel like I can speak up. The truth is I could have still said whatever I wanted to say. I feel afraid to say what I want to say. Just like I told you with the waters, just like I told you with the healing component, creativity's firing off. I got the ideas for this. I had a song with Samara Sin where I talked about, my whole verse was like, being proud to pay my taxes finally. And I was doing all the metaphors about like growing up and like become and centered around tax bars. And then at the end, find out that y'all use my money to take a country off the map. And I never put the song out.
Yeah. And
so to your point, there's times where like it's overwhelming and a nigga will be like me. I'll say a nigga, but me. And it's just like, all right, well, I don't know what to do. So I'm not going to do anything right now. And I'll wait for a time where it's more comfortable for me to do anything. That's kind of weak though.
I think what I've learned and what I receive and what you're saying is that, you know, the power of prayer is prevalent and persistent and has protected so many that we are here. Many of us are here because of that prayer. However, that doesn't mean that horrendous things don't still take place and that we don't still deal with the ramifications. Repercussions.
We put them together.
Yeah, not me putting repercussions and ramifications together.
You know what I'm saying? Holler at us, Miriam. We got something for you for the future. You know, that's
the way we turn the words around, making up new words, but the repercussions of dealing with the reality of the conditions that we're living in. I think one of the biggest things that we have lost in this society and in this moment is like, or that we need to reinstill through values, through leadership, through examples, is that example that you're saying of acknowledging the internal process of what it took to get you to this point and to name the courage and the strength to name like, yo, I was bugging or this is where I was at, or this is how I got to where we are, because nobody stays woke all the time. and there's phases in the political process and in the spiritual process, in an educational process. I think of Bob Marley when he says, every man was once but a child, and so when you boil that person down, when you boil the red orange man down to a baby, and you really understand the real heart of that child and what was implicated around that child to then be raised into this sort of creature that moves this way, it really shifts the way that you approach solution and or relationship. And to me, I think that we have not done well at treating each other in a way that reflects the full spectrum of what it means to be human.
It's so funny to me because when we talk about ourselves, we understand how much grace is needed.
Yeah. But when I talk about somebody else, you ain't got no grace.
About somebody else, it's like we can't fathom why they might be on a journey to learning a truth you already know. And now the journey's not valid. Now the journey to learning this thing that you may have learned when you were 16, but he won't learn until he's 26. Now it's not valid because he's too old. He should have known it. I approach finding out things about people a completely different way now.
It does hurt, though. I think that it doesn't take away the fact, as someone,
it doesn't erase that at all.
I want to leave room for the fact that grace has to come from both sides. And grace is not something you can give if you've never been shown, right?
Exactly.
You learn it from somewhere. You see it by way of example. And the reason why I'm saying is this: grace is a form. I mean, my grandmother's name was Grace, so I've been writing about grace for like the past few months. Mm-hmm. And so I lost her 2 years ago. And she was one of the most opinionated, spiritually stern people that I've ever met, and had a lot of opinions about people. Had a lot of opinions, would be able to look at you in a second and read you for filth up and down. The spirit of discernment, to me, which we learned through, I was prophesized over as a child in the church, learning about that as a word, as a way of being in the world, as a tool, as a device to survive and to have the spiritual fortitude to face what's ahead. What we learn when we're strong in our discernment is that we must always go to prayer for the answers that we need. And we don't know the answers that you're going to be given for you. If it goes back to what we said in the beginning of this call of what do? It's like, I can't even say, because you have a testimony and you have an experience and a journey that you must go on. If I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing and I'm answering my call, I will be a testimony as well. And we will, by virtue of caring for each other, for ourselves, we will care for each other.
That was my answer to the question. When you asked me, when I was going to say, what do we do? It's like, you do what you're supposed to do. You do what you're supposed to do. Like
Amiri Baraka always said is, you can't be mad when people are doing their gig, and you gotta let people do their gig. I don't want to take away from the fact that we must call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
And lie when the air we breathe is lies. Truth is a medicine.
What I experienced, though, is like a good portion of people just want to call it as they see it. And I don't want to just call it as I see it.
For the sake of calling it.
For the sake of calling it. For the sake of being right. If we can source the ignorance, we might can help this person. You know what I'm saying? If we can source the ignorance, we might figure out what book to put in his hand. We might figure out what person to send him to.
I think the part that I'm trying to leave room for that is coming in my mind as you're speaking is the part that I would question about, which is when someone has information and has process, and they continue to inflict harm, and they continue to do evil, and they continue to exploit their power and their authority.
But to my point, we take a quick look at track record and we can identify that. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, well, is it ignorance? Is it intention? If we can't understand if it's ignorant intention, let's just look at the whole track record. What's happening here? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do I need to know whether it's ignorant intention the way Joe Biden has voted for his career? No. I can look at all of the votes and understand who I'm dealing with. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, no, to your point, it's like, nah, not every time do we need a microscope.
People just don't read. They don't know how to read. And I'm talking like not just read a book. There is the ability to read people, to read spirit, and critical thinking, comprehensive reading that is comprehensive, that is asking these sorts of questions. And these are the kinds of things you learn through by way of example. And if people don't have that relationship with themselves, if nobody poured into you and watched you stumble to learn to grow, to get to the place that you're in, then maybe you just don't have, you completely resist the lack of compassion for somebody else.
Capacity. I thought it was a great word when you said that. It's like, man, that's a present word for me, capacity.
May we create more capacity for one another, to be the people we know we choose to become, that we want to become, that we were set out to be.
How often do you actually feel balance?
I'll tell you, when I'm in love, when I'm wrapped up completely in the awe and the funk and the glow of love, when I feel completely enveloped in it. And that can be with a human, or that can be with myself. When I'm in complete like oneness with nature and I find myself at the ocean and I'm just like, it's just us. And I'm like, even when I'm out in LA, sometimes the thing I like about LA is you can go to certain parts of the city, you see the mountains and you see how much bigger they are than you. And it's kind of like they're taunting you, like, ha ha, you think you're so big and mighty, look at me.
Yeah.
Look at me with my head up to the sky. What you doing over there, And it's like this conversation you get to have with nature all the time that kind of humbles you, that you become sober to the reality that like there's more to life than just your thoughts and your sense of safety and comfort.
You're right. I think if you didn't say that first, I would have been like, I don't know when I feel balanced. I'm always trying to get there. But it's like, you're right, man.
Well, remember when I try to connect you to the sensei?
Yeah.
And sensei I got connected to through Vic, but that sensei reminded, we all have those like warrior spirits that come along and like tap you. And even if they're only there for a moment, they give you the testimony and the thing you need to hear.
He gave it to me too.
Did he? He gave it to me too.
You know what? I actually wanted to keep working with him, but at the time he was too expensive. We did that one session. He was like, all right, if we're going to do sessions, this is what it's going to be. I was like, I don't know if I can, I can do it right now. But it showed me at the time that has stuck with me. That's been a marker for me. And he was absolutely right too. So crazy how niggas downloaded me in like 30 minutes. It's crazy.
Seconds. I walked in and he was like, that scan?
Yeah.
The spiritual scan? I was like, bruh.
Hey, he was like, you're comfortable. It's like, you're too comfortable. So you need to make yourself uncomfortable. And he was right. He was right. Simple as that.
Well, anyway, I've appreciated this conversation. I want to talk to you more.
No, let me tell you, it's actually crazy, especially in the last 2-3 years. I've come to understand that you probably look at me more as a peer than I thought, because I've always looked at you as like a teacher, like not as black and white as that sounds, but
no, I hear you.
Like you came into my life when I was pretty young, especially young as a writer. When I say young, I mean in my mind, young mentally. Like I don't know how old you were. I can't remember how old I was. I just know mentally you're years ahead of me, and I recognize that, especially as a writer, because that's how I got introduced to you. And I was like, oh. I can learn from her. Oh wow! Did you hear what she just said? Oh my God, that's so fucking genius. Oh, and then I got to talk to you, and then you invited me to dinner, and then we were talking. And I was like, wow, she thinks I'm worth her time. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm worth investing in as a writer. And so over the years, it would be like cherishing talking to you, cherishing the guidance you give. I remember one time you told me like. I don't remember exactly what you said. I remember what I took from it. And it was, you can't always be out the way. You can't always be low key, nigga. Like you can't always be over there, nigga, in the cut. You can't, you the things that you're saying and things you said you want to do, you can't be over there all the time. Like you or you won't be that. I was always like, man, I needed that. Damn, that's a word. And I think in the last 2-3 years, I've realized like, oh shit. Is she learning from me too? Is she taking things from me too? Like it sounds like in that conversation, it sounds like she needed that conversation just as much as I did. Damn. Wait.
Always.
And then I hear you talk about things. I was like, damn, I didn't realize you looked at me as much as a peer as you did. And it's an honor. So yeah, we should talk more. I was so glad to do this. You know what I'm saying? I love you and I appreciate it for real. And I don't think I've ever said that to you. So I'm saying it to you.
I receive it Mick, and I really needed to hear it. And I just want you to know that I deeply respect you, and I've appreciated us growing as friends. And thank you for being on my song when you said yes. I was so grateful, and I hope we get to create more together. But in light of that, just the conversation that we create to me is poetry, you know, and the ability to co-create this life and look after each other and learn the lessons we're learning. And we need each other. There's no way we can get through this time without each other. So please feel free to, whenever, reach out to me. I'm here. I support all of the things. And I'm gonna call you more often. But sometimes I realize like I be texting you and then you don't respond, and I'll be thinking like I'm annoying you. So I'm like,
no. Let me clear that up right now.
No, but Vic told me, he was like, you gotta call. He was like, you gotta call him, because I used to take it that way too. He was like,
I am terrible. I will literally be like, okay, bet.
Yeah. No, I love that. You stay that way.
Yeah.
Stay that way.
But easy.
That's great. Thank you to Talkhouse for eavesdropping on our conversation.
Easy. Thank you, Talkhouse. Thanks for having us, for sure.
Thanks for listening to the Talkhouse Podcast, and thanks to Aja Monet and Mick Jenkins for chatting. If you liked what you heard, please follow Talkhouse on your favorite podcasting platform and check out all the great stuff at talkhouse.com. This episode was produced by Myron Kaplan, and the Talkhouse theme was composed and performed by The Range. See you next time.